Hey Gauchos! Welcome to the Symplicity Event Planning 101. We in the Student Development Office want you to be as successful as possible when you plan your club events this year. So this video is packed and nearly exhaustive with all the great tips, advice, and requirements you need to know about planning club events at Saddleback. So sit back, get a notepad ready, and feel free to come back to this video or each sectional video each time you're working on an event. In this video, we will go over the definition of an event as it pertains to the Saddleback College's Clubs program, and the step-by-step process of planning an event with or without funding requests, which includes the democratic process, the event planning worksheet, working with your club's faculty or staff mentor, deadlines, a quick overview of budget form, and an in-depth look at the event request form, which will include room assignments, equipment use, bringing food on campus, collecting funds, speakers, VIP parking, publicity, and what to do after your event. So now that I have an active club, I'm able to plan events using Symplicity's event request form. And since I've attended the Budget 101 workshop, I am also able to utilize any funding that my club has by submitting the budget form prior to submitting my event planning form. If you haven't attended the Budget 101 workshop, don't worry. Just go to www.saddleback.edu/clubs to make an appointment for the workshop. You will need to complete the workshop in order to access any funds that your club may have. You'll learn really valuable information, and the bonus, your club will get money added to the ICC account for attending. So what is an event? Within the Saddleback College Clubs program, an event is defined as any activity outside of the club's regularly scheduled meetings. Even a table and a couple chairs out on the quad is an event. An exception to this is if you have a special request for one or more of your regular scheduled meetings, such as additional AV or any purchases the club may wish to make for the regularly scheduled meeting. If this applies to you, you will need to submit either or both of the forms. Event planning itself is an intricate process, both here at Saddleback or anywhere else you might be planning events, now and in the future. Trust me, I know. The Student Development Office here at Saddleback has designed the club's program to help you gain useful and valuable experiences outside of the classroom, and event planning totally is. Most of the skills you learn in this program will translate to other venues of your life, and especially your next educational destination. If your club wants to host a festival, fundraiser, public service, or other new event on campus, all you need is an idea and to complete the budget and/or event request forms with any necessary documentation. Though there are multiple steps, once you get the hang of it, it is totally doable. This video will stay up all year, so I totally encourage you to come back to it each time you plan an event during the year, and refresh your knowledge of this process. So now, with all the formalities out of the way, I'm going to walk you through the whole process while we plan my club's first event of the year. The step-by-step processes of planning an event. I know that planning an event both requires my entire club pulling together as well as my club mentor. It is to your advantage to not be a one-person or few-person team, but to pull together all of your people resources in order to create and execute a successful event. After all, who will help me purchase decorations and set up the venue if I don't work with my clubmates? I definitely can't do it alone, and I don't want to either. Including all of your club members in the decision and planning process will make people more likely to participate because they feel invested in the event. Use your meetings to hold discussions and votes regarding all of the event's details. You will already need to hold an official meeting and submit meeting minutes to the Student Development Office via Symplicity when requesting to use club funds, so take advantage of that time. Event Planning Worksheet. Every time I plan an event, I find it really helpful to download and print off the event planning worksheet. This worksheet was developed to help you plan your events during your club's meetings. All of the information on the worksheet directly correlates to the budget and event request forms that you will be completing in Symplicity. I bring the worksheet with me to my club meeting and use it as a check-off list to make sure that we have considered everything that we may need in order to have a complete and successful event. After the meeting, I use it to complete the forms in Symplicity, and I know I will have everything ready to be able to submit the complete forms. Working with your club's mentor. When I plan events, I always make an appointment with my club mentor. to go over the event details with her prior to submitting the forms. The college's policy is that if the event is after student development hours, Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. to 8 a.m., or Friday after 12 p.m., including weekends, or off campus at any time, your mentor must be present for the duration of the event during teardown and cleanup. You should always consult with your mentor prior to submitting any of the forms so that when he or she is requested to approve your event, the approval is not held up with questions he or she may have. And of course, do not plan after hours or off-campus events without the agreement that he or she will be present.
Within the Symplicity system, only the designated leadership of a club is permitted to submit budget and event request forms. The leadership represents the wishes of the club members as a whole and therefore represents the club's involvement of each event that is planned by the club. This does not mean that within your club, only the leadership may plan an event. It just means that the leadership must always be involved and must submit the forms on behalf of the club. We are talking about bottom-up leadership. On a side note, if you want to know what that is, you should check out the Leadership Lab that is offered through the Student Development Office.
Okay, so I have completed the helpful worksheet, I have talked with and received verbal approval from my advisor, so now I'm going to move on to submitting the forms. The most important advice I got from the Student Development Office was that I must submit complete forms. So now I'm telling you to make sure that when you submit the forms, you have included everything that is requested by the forms and all details are included that may not have been requested. Forms that have been received which are incomplete cannot be processed. Incomplete forms will be denied and must be resubmitted. Deadlines. I also know that all budget and event request forms must be submitted no later than 2 full weeks prior to my event date, as the Student Development Office must work with several entities within the district to fulfill requests, and each entity has its own deadlines. Because of this, forms submitted less than 2 full weeks in advance cannot be processed. So, if you do not complete all the steps in time, the event date will need to be pushed back in order for the forms to be submitted. The exception to this rule is if I want to have a check up front to pay a DJ or caterer directly. I need to submit my budget form no later than 4 weeks in advance, as that is how long it takes to process checks through the district.
Submit a budget transaction form. If you have attended the Budget 101 workshop, the club's leadership will have access to your club's accounts. If your event needs the use of the club's money, you will need to submit a budget transaction form prior to submitting the event request form. For all the details about your budget, please see the amazingly helpful video, Budget 101. Please note, if you need an advance check to a vendor, you must submit this form and all required documents no later than 4 weeks prior to the date that the check is needed.